Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. A couple videos back I did one titled I'm not 100% sure what this is, and I hypothesized that maybe that injury had resulted from a flat ulcer that had become colonized by digital dermatitis. Well, I got a comment from Ellison saying, I don't think I've ever seen a flat ulcer before. So today's video we're going to show you one of those. Sole ulcers are formed as a result of the pedal bone inside the foot compressing and damaging the corium in between the pedal bone itself and the sole layer. So basically what's happening is if we have too much pressure in that one little spot, it continually forces down on it and makes it hemorrhage. And then we get some bleeding in that new hoof layer that's growing. Therefore, it's not going to be a nice, sound layer of hoof. We end up ultimately having a hole there, which is what you're about to see here. Typically, when you see an ulcer, you're going to see a large protruding ulcer that comes out. A lot of times, that's a cause of an ulcer that's gone on, that's been there too long, basically, and that repeated trauma from the pedal bone pushing down on the corium actually forces the corium through that layer into the sole layer of the foot. Now, in this case, what I'm going to uncover here is more of a flat ulcer, and it's going to appear more like an abrasion. This is an ulcer that you may have got some hemorrhaging, enough to cause an ulcer, but is not enough pressure that we're actually making the corium protrude through the foot. The reason these ulcers form in the first place, and the reason that there is too much pressure on that specific spot, boils down to two primary things. Number one is the angle of the foot. There's a couple bones inside that foot that come together and create that actual pinch point that causes ulcerations. Now, if we have good heel depth, the weight of the cow is transferred across the pedal bone and is distributed out to the outside wall properly. If we take down too much of that heel, or if we have low heel depth, then what happens is that angle puts more pressure in that sole ulcer site, and that's why we end up seeing more sole ulcers there. The other thing that plays into it is what we call the digital cushion, and that is a fat pad that is inside the foot that actually protects and cushions the blow from that pedal bone when it comes down. Now, if a cow is thin, she will have a thinner digital cushion, therefore less cushion in that area. The other thing too with the digital cushion is it only extends from the heel of the foot to about the midpoint of the hoof, and it's thicker at the heel than it is toward the middle point of the hoof. So that too helps with foot angle. And that's why really ultimately foot angle is king when it comes to ulcerations. If we have good foot angle and we have good digital cushion, which also helps with foot angle, we're going to see far less ulcerations. That's why if you notice with the majority of the feet that I trim, they're going to have good deep soles, good deep heels rather, and that's to get that foot angled properly to make sure those bones in the foot align properly. Now, if you were to search causes for ulcers, the primary thing you're going to find is too much weight on a given claw. An overburdened claw is going to be more likely to ulcer. The reason I dismiss that, I shouldn't say dismiss, but the reason I believe that foot angle has much more to do with ulcer formation than too much weight on a claw has to do with the fact that the way we actually treat these ulcers is to completely overburden the other claw, right? So right now, when I get done cleaning this up, I'm going to take a rubber block and I'm going to glue it to that other claw. I'm going to take 100% of this foot's weight and I'm going to put it on that other claw. Now, if we believed that overburdening was the sole reason for foot ulcers or the primary reason, we wouldn't use that technique then to heal the foot, meaning we wouldn't do the things that we thought caused ulcers and do them to the healthy claw. And through our experience of applying literally hundreds of blocks per year as hoof trimmers, we know that if a block is put on correctly, has a correct angle, and wears correctly and remains in the proper positioning on the foot, we almost never see foot problems as a result of a block. Now, if they stay on for a long period of time and they end up growing down with the foot, you end up actually with poor foot angle, which is exactly what I'm talking about here. If it slips down toward the toe, you're going to end up with that cow rocking back on her heels, and yeah, you can have foot problems as a result of a block. But as you've seen in other videos, I've literally got cows that have had blocks on for years with zero sign of hemorrhaging, which leads me to believe that actually the angle of the foot has much more to do with the ulcer formation than the actual amount of weight applied to that foot. Now that I've got this cleaned up, you can see what I mean about a flat ulcer here. There's no protrusion, and how it looks more like just an abrasion on the sole. Now that we got this blocked up, she's going to be able to heal. I don't want to wrap this. That'll heal much better when exposed to open air. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. We will see you all on the next one.